Let's go! Even with the illegal McCree, we got him.
All that. I noticed.
Get owned, Aero!
Yeah.
The composition we're going to be running for the most part today, of course, with a few potential swaps. As you all saw, Ball, Sig. We're going to focus on Ash Tracer for our DPS. It's going to be our dedicated hit scan Eth running the Ash and our flex DPS Gamolile, if I'm saying that right, on the Tracer. And then focusing on Brig Zen for our support line.
So jumping into the team comp style here, one of the main things I really want to work on and really want to focus on is for team-wide stuff, making sure that we always have an ult plan. Supports after every fight, I want you to hit tab and talk about who has ults, okay? And then from there, whoever's ult we want to use, it's going to be on that person to talk about how they want to use it, okay? That's going to be a general rule of thumb across everybody. So if we're going to be, using mines as like an initiation or something, it's going to be on our ball player to call it, just as an example, okay? And then with the comp, there's going to be a couple key focuses here for teamwork that we got to work on. Number one, our ball and tracer players. You guys, it's going to be very important to work together and communicate our dives. And then we have our little core of 4 as a little blob doing their own thing, okay? Let's do it, team. All right, let's see.
Mom spaghetti.
Ball and, on the mini left with Tracer.
Are they mirror?
Yeah, I haven't seen anyone else.
You ready here? You ready here?
Big, Sig and main.
Slam Ash 3, 2, 1. Ash in air. Ash 1.
Nice.
Nice.
That's what I like to
Over
see.
through. Gonna have.
Ball on point, ball behind Sig. I'm jumping down to feel
They're
for Sig.
all right in
Ball
front
one,
of
ball
us.
one.
They didn't cap point. That's
I'm not-
good. But
Sig,
they
Sig,
didn't
Sig.
contest them at all.
Brig one. Both supports one.
Sig.
Alone.
Good rock.
We killed this.
Tracer one.
Sig, guys.
The problem was we didn't know where to go from where we were. Not having the high ground really limited our line of sight for our Zen and Ash, and it made it so we didn't really know what to do. It's really hard to just move to point from where we were. It's really hard to just stand in the open like that.
Tracer left side.
Balls over there too.
80 balls.
Unless that was you.
I'm up on top.
Balls over and goes to.
Alright, let's push.
Or not ball.
Dynamite.
Tracer.
I'm rolling three. I'm rolling.
Tracer's doing well in the duel, but she's
I
not
think Zen
getting
in.
any extra
Zen in.
resources.
Cork on my side. I went too early.
Balls up top, balls up top.
I need healing.
Ball dropping, slamming. Miss slam.
Sorry.
Balls half.
Tracer on me. Tracer one.
Tracer no recall.
I'm with you.
Keep our Zen up.
I think
Good. And our ball and tracer are going wild in the back.
Nice.
She's gonna full 6 fight. They should be close to mines, and Ash should. I don't think Ash will have Bob though, but yeah. That's
I'm gonna look to flux
Close
early
to
before they can get
mines.
transcendence up.
I'm probably gonna group through here.
For Ash.
Oh, sorry.
Our whips. Bait them to
Holding
drop
high
in.
ground.
No.
Flux.
Okay, Bull
Transfers
sacrificed
out.
himself.
That's fine.
Reset ready at 99.
Yeah.
Good. We did well. I mean,
Okay, so
You
what they
should
might
win their
rally
first year
to-
ult economy.
They should.
We
They
got
should
it.
have transflux and.
No, they just
Ash
they
gets
use
picked
transcendence.
here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did they use rally?
We just
No.
we just
Oh,
go
it's
aggro with
Rally and
rally.
Tran.
They're under.
They may be going to the
Tracer's
side.
like co-side.
I really like how
You're
aggressive
gonna have a lot of
our Tracer's
Ash
doing
forced
here,
out.
but
Ball discorded.
obviously need to bring
Ball
up the
on
fact
point.
that
Ball discorded.
getting
half on
too
point.
aggressive like this is very, very dangerous.
Tracer recalled. Oh, I got bobbed.
Okay.
I knocked Bob off.
That's blocks, that's blocks.
Big
Oh,
flux.
we can engage. Oh, we can push the. We can push
Ash
the
on point.
Sigma
Ash on point. Ash on point.
Ash one.
Alright, Signa.
Sigma.
Good intuition here from our Brig to move up to the Sigma and handle that fight once we had an advantage. Obviously,
He's
can't do that
out.
too early or you opens yourself up to the dive. But the way
He's
she
one, he's
pushed
one.
up there in the mid fight was perfect.
Is that?
Let's get back. Reset to high ground.
Yeah.
You
Nice
can.
call, nice call.
Okay, Bob.
Going far right. Careful.
I'm gonna talk to
backline.
our Zen and our Tracer for sure
He's not
about
Six on high ground.
getting the advantage in the Tracer duel,
That's it.
especially when we're holding
Ash
space
is
like
far
this.
side.
Because
Can
their
you
Tracer
really
forcing
use
space
some
alone
Tracer
should
ghost?
never get anything.
Thank you.
Because we have the opportunity
Pulse on point.
to Discord and Harmony our
Tracer
Tracer,
ghost.
and they
Half
don't
health.
have that opportunity.
Can't get.
Yeah, I'm low.
We don't have the touch. We don't have the touch.
Oh no.
distorted. Tracer half.
Bob, Ash.
Nice Bob on point. Very split up fight.
Sigma,
Unlucky.
Sigma.
Find a point. Oh, we can find a point.
We can fight this.
We've got mines
Is
here.
it Bash?
Mines after trans.
This is fine, this
Oh,
is
very
fine. Then
unfortunate. We
yellow.
got booped right before mines.
Ball discorded.
Ball discorded. Bash.
Brig half. Brig one.
The aggression from our Zen.
Zen on the right side.
Get
Zen on the
Zen, get
right side of the point.
Zed by coast on their side.
I'm on Zen.
Is Zag
Zen?
behind you guys.
Zen one.
Zen dead.
Zen
Ball,
dead.
ball, 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 ball.
Ball one. Bash. Ball one.
Ooh, almost got the kill on ball there.
Ball one. Ball.
Keep her.
Diva.
Help her, Ash. Help her,
Diva,
Ash.
Diva.
Oh, she doesn't need help. She gets the
Lucio,
headshot.
go in.
Diva dead. Lucy bashed.
Diva one.
Is it
Diva
dead?
one HP. Got her.
Baby. Nice.
Let's go, team.
So jumping in here, one of the things that I think is a really good quality to do as a player is when you have a fight like this, where either we have ult advantage or it's a fight that we definitely could have won, and go back and look at it and think about where should I have set up and where's the fight going to happen. That question, asking yourself, where's the fight going to happen, and identifying it is going to be one of the biggest things about that changes either you getting picked or you being able to set up a really good ult. Basically, like a huge part of this game is prediction rather than reaction. There's too many things going on in Overwatch at one time for you to be able to react to everything. There's a million decisions happening all at the same time. So you need to predict where this is going to happen. We are in last fight territory here, and we kind of already talked about it, where we were not really on the same page of what we wanted to do here. But when we call this, this kind of support positioning here, this tells me that you want to fight like here, or we're going aggressive with the dive up top, or like we're wanting to go in. So when we identify in advance where we want to fight, we can determine a couple things. All right, it's last fight scenario. One of the common things that you want to do in a Koth map is if they have to touch point, then you're in a 5v6. Okay, let them flip point with the one person on point. Who cares if you win the 6v5? So this point is a little hard because of the high ground. But if we want to go aggressive, we should be calling to go aggressive. Like they shouldn't be up here peeking out with people diving our backline before we even do anything. We're way slow here. So when we want to do this aggressive positioning, like we talked about, we don't need to go over it in detail too much, but this is where our Ash can be on this side, either up top, and we can look to take the aggressive fight if we see them going low ground. Alternatively, which one of the things you can try to set up a boot play ball to bring them on the low ground if you can knock them off. It's a little hard with Brig, and it may take a little while to learn rollouts to be able to do that. But knocking them down off high ground is something that you see with Lucio comps all the time. Lucio setting up in advance just to knock them down. But otherwise, since we aren't looking for a boot play and we haven't called it, the positioning that I think that we should do is either number one, set up on the high ground here and just pressure them, let them have to touch point and focus on whoever's here. And since both of their divers are on you guys here, either they have to commit both divers to you guys, and you guys are in an advantage 3v2, or they have to put one of them on the point, and then you guys are 3v1. And if they put two divers on point, then you guys can just support our divers from across the high ground. As long as we have point control, we have an ace in our pocket. Another alternative positioning that I like a lot is putting our Zen in this angle, because you have the sightline here, you have the sightline here, and you can retreat back into the mega if you need to. So yeah, just wanted to touch base on that. When we're setting up for our divers here, it's good to be set up in advance. You guys were down here together, ready, waiting. But I want to be faster on pulling this trigger. either we look for a play on the bridge where it's exposed, or if we don't get something or have their attention in some way by this point, then we have to wait a while for their Sigma to move to point, or for their Ash to take a different angle. We have to wait. So pressure early, and then most important thing is figuring out where we want to fight in our last point scenario.
A few focus points I want us to focus on, of course, as focus points. Number one, our rollout first fight. I think you guys realized as the map went on, we should have been playing for that high ground. I didn't mention anything on purpose because I kind of wanted to see where you guys' head was at, but try to keep that in mind when it comes to retaking space or taking space for the first time even, about where you want to set up anticipating the very first fight, since you will be on even ground here on Koth. Second thing, Tracer, you're doing a great job being aggressive. Don't be afraid to call for resources. Call for Harmony Orb, call for Brig Packs, call for a Discord on enemy Tracer if you're taking those duels. I saw a lot of moments where you're marking space really well, but you end up forced out over time because the Tracer just wore you down or something else happened, or the Tracer got the Mega Pack or something. Yeah, exactly. So you can call for that same resource. Don't be afraid to speak up about that. And especially when we have space, when we've captured the point and they have to retake, we have Zen sightlines and they don't. So use that to our advantage by asking for those resources and asking for that focus together. There was a moment where we stacked both Rally and Transcendence. If we have both of those ultimates, try to have a conversation about who's going to use them first. Anticipating stuff like Sigma ult, maybe even mines and stuff like that. It's good to call out, if you have both of them, just say, I'm going to Rally first or I'm going to Trans first, so the other one doesn't get wasted. It's fine to use them one after each other if you still need both, but try not to use them both at the same time. Let's get it.
They have ball.
Another mirror matchup.
Tracer's left side, Tracer's coast.
Top left.
Sigma
Six
and
in here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Six.
Ball going all the way behind.
Let's go.
Oh, I'm
Oh, that's unlucky.
my bad.
ETH is getting really aggressive here.
Brigida one.
All in.
Ball bash.
I'm on Sigma half.
Sorry.
Just
Back
half.
it up, start backing.
Sigma
This way. This way.
Probably needed to back up sooner as soon as we
yeah,
lost our ball there. We lost a lot of forward pressure.
Tracer on.
Or you can give.
Very good, very good.
Have a sig.
Tracer on me, she discorded.
Good. Capture
I'm gonna
point.
get
Oh, Tracer one.
Tracer behind us, she recalled.
Talk about the plan. What's the plan for next?
Tracer one. Tracer one.
Where
One.
support setting up? They're
Ball
setting up.
rock.
This Zen is aggressive. He really
Playing
likes
this like
it.
quick play. What am I doing?
No, they lost their Zen, it's fine. Don't worry. I have Flux here.
Bastion main, I think.
Somebody back here. Somebody behind me.
Get our balls.
They start pushing in, I'm gonna back up left ways.
Let's get our balls setting up.
Ball's on the left side, coming up the left side.
Yeah. My cage. He's going for
Trying to
environmentals.
push in.
Tracer
Again,
mark.
back up left.
Yep, good.
Tracer on
good.
right.
Core, let's go right.
Rally. I think that's it. I don't think that.
So
Ball's
I think
on
what
the
Eth
coast.
is looking
Ball's,
for
like,
here
swinging
is
high
actually a
on the
pretty
coast.
advanced tactic, which is to split their
I think
angles of their
Zen's,
backline so that
engaged.
Zen and Ash have this sort of double angle coming into these fights.
Six really low.
Hey, push it to supports. Push it to supports.
Push the support. Push the supports. Go.
I like this aggression.
Zen-
Zen close. Zen one.
Nice.
Briggs half.
I think that was our
Oh, you got
sig.
you
I think that
behind.
was Hunter Tane.
DPS are dead.
Oh god.
It's just
All right.
we had a bit of a conga line trying to keep up with that. We weren't ready for that fast aggression.
Ballo.
Ash and Air.
Ash one.
Help our ball.
My fault.
Rallying.
Ash dead.
I'm gonna come back with Bob.
Oh, sorry,
Brick's
Brig.
mom? Brigging Air.
Brig discorded. One
Right,
dead.
Sig
Good,
low,
good,
sig low,
it's winnable.
sig half.
I should get the Zen.
Kill
Don't
sig,
give up,
sig
don't
one. Just
Sig
fine.
dead.
Ball behind us and on the
Balcos,
left.
Balcos.
Nice.
Good stuff,
Nice.
boys. Good stuff.
Yeah, good job. Good job not giving up on that fight. Because we hit, even though it was a little dicey there, we still had advantages that we could use. At the start of it, though, we were talking a ton about what we wanted to do, and it was overlapping. I think people were confused. So let's. That's good. That's a good problem to have. So let's trim it down a little bit. Let Zalahi call ults, and then whoever's ult we're using. Someone had time. Okay, good. Make sure we're listening to how they want to use it. Now, when we have Sigma ult and they have trance, one of the best ways we can get value when we have an ult advantage is we use Sigma ult to force their support ults. If it's a good team, they'll only trance. But if they're what's the word I'm looking for? If they're not coordinated, then they'll use both. Okay, and so if they use both, then we can re-engage with whatever next ults you want to use. But at the very beginning of that last fight, one of the important things was we were set up aggressively, but we didn't talk about what we wanted to do. So our Brig was on the front line with our Sigma, our Zen was on the left side, and our Ashe was in the back. And that core, remember, we got to always be in position to help each other. So Brig, if you want to go really aggressive like that, which is fine, there's nothing inherently wrong. Just make sure that they know, so that they can support each other, and vice versa. If we want to put our Ashe on like some crazy flank, that's fine. Talk about it, and then just make sure everyone knows. Okay.
I think a lot of these fights just boiled down to we were getting too aggressive too early. We were losing a lot of advantage, whether someone was getting picked off or we're getting forced back, and we're just starting these fights in a disadvantaged state, which obviously is hard to win. The one thing I really did like was there was one fight where I think it was Hunter you called to go aggressive on their backline through cage. Was that you?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, I like that call, especially as the Sigma of calling for that space. I'd like to see more calls like that. It doesn't need to be aggressive into a certain person or when you see someone exposed. It can just be a rotation that you call based on you want to put your shield somewhere else, you're taking too much damage, you want to take a different angle and enable our backline a different way. Those calls are perfect and helps organize us and keep us together. The second thing, F, I noticed you trying to take a lot of really aggressive angles. And it's definitely not a bad thing. The problem is we aren't really ready for it as a team. So one of two things needs to happen. Either you need to start with the team first, and then once we solidify our initial ground, then you look for the flank aggression. You set up the double angle after we've already cleared a little bit of space, kept our Zen safe, kept our Brig safe, and all that. When you go a little bit too early, it just enables their dive even more by not having a body on top of them. Right. Or we talk about that rotation before we even come into the fight. So we roll out of the fight sort of a little bit split with the intention of setting up that double angle. What that will usually look like is either Sigma or Brig accompanying you as the Ashe, and then the other one pocketing the Zen. Obviously, the space you hold can't be as aggressive because you don't have all four of you together, but you can set up double angle timings that way. It's a little bit advanced, and I can tell you've probably played this composition before and you're trying to set up those angles. But make sure you're playing around the pace of your team as well. If you want to be really aggressive and take those angles, call someone by name, whether it's Sigma or Brig. Call them specifically to come escort you, basically, onto that angle, and then have the intention of hitting a specific timing with the rest of your team. So wait for the other counterpart, whether that's Brig Zen or Sigma Zen, to start peeking and start fighting for space at the same time that you go look for space.
Their balls coast too with Tracer.
Core, we're also gonna go coast.
I'll come with you.
Okay.
I'm over with you.
Try to get control of Mega over here.
Tracer behind.
Tracer half.
Tracer
Tracer
recall.
With a ball you.
Ball me.
Nice pocket there, keeping our Widow
Tracer's
alive.
at main now.
Balls. PD on top.
Go bash.
Yeah, this is what I was a little bit worried about with Widow is
Tracer behind still.
Both of the healers are on bridge.
set up space, but we don't really have a lot of
Tracer still discorded behind.
general pressure in terms
Bash.
of damage. We don't have the same
I'm on
consistency
Ash.
damage.
Ash
Tracer no
fast.
call.
And unless Widow's able to free fire the whole fight, we will never have that same damage.
Go bash. Okay, never mind.
Taking Ashe out of the
Need
fight
health.
definitely helps,
I'm half.
On you.
as well as Tracer. Nice. They're getting split up now. They're
Get
not.
Mega.
They are not aggressing at the same times.
Bash.
Then low back right.
I can't.
Ball discorded.
He heals on
Can see
point.
you. I'm with you. There's a ball behind.
Nice try from our Sig there. I think
Ball, if they keep playing,
They
they
their
needed to play a little
supports
bit
on the
safer,
bridge,
especially when they're
Right,
using their
push
no
those
shield.
together.
You have no sig right now.
Okay.
We
I'm set up behind. They
Reset.
don't know
Soft
I'm here.
reset.
Okay, I'm gonna try.
Oh, Widow, you might
and-
want to back up a little bit.
Falling back.
Yeah, it goes on you.
Yeah, Zenyatta's on
Yeah,
the
I'm
bridge.
getting it down.
He's almost on.
So Tracer down below.
Zenyatta
That's
low.
I'm switching to Ashe. I'm getting
that's-
back.
that's
That's
okay,
because
that's
of
okay.
the shots.
They're all here.
So now we're synchronizing our aggression with Ball Tracer, but it's in a really
living.
awkward part of the map
Fine.
where we don't have sightlines currently, and it's mistimed.
I think we
where
just
we're
missed
going
that
in too
timing.
early.
Ball
Yeah.
top left.
We can
Yeah,
push on
we
the sig. We can
missed it a little bit.
to the brick sig. Push you.
Most important is
PD on
their
ball
timing
here.
together as Ball Tracers,
He's
but
both
it's
letting back.
obviously very
Go
also
bash.
back,
Ball
back,
one, ball one,
ball
ball one,
two,
ball one, ball one.
wait for the backline to be in position
Can we
to
go aggro here? Can we
enable
go
that
aggro?
aggression even further.
Tracer behind. On
I'm
the
running us in. Can we just go aggro here?
Ball discorded.
You have trans?
I don't have to
Now flush out.
Ooh,
Oh,
what a
nice,
rock.
nice. Alright,
Ball
That's
I'm
big.
rallying in with
behind.
flex. Rallying in with
Force
flex.
trans.
Go for it, go for it.
Big.
Good.
Nice.
Alright.
Focus break. Break the
This is
explode.
where you.
break,
This is
break,
where
break,
you.
break,
Okay.
Oh,
Trans is
no.
out.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Tracer on a recall right side.
Tracer one. Tracer one.
Need to be
Tracer
healed.
one.
Ash needs heals.
Yep.
Ash coming behind, needs heals. I'm burning.
I got you.
Zen right side with Tracer.
I'm
I
gonna
low
go
shield.
Right.
right side.
Signal rock.
Just touch. Tracer, you gotta touch.
Oh, I'm low.
6 half.
Ball's low,
6
ball's
half
low.
on point. He has no cooldowns.
Nice, Brig.
Touch, touch, touch.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Ash is
back here.
half.
No recall for
I
Tracer.
need
No
Yeah,
recall.
heals
not
on
this.
point.
Ash is
Rallying,
half.
rallying, rallying.
That's a backup.
Yeah, we going.
Stack break,
I
stack
need to
break.
pause everyone.
Break.
21.
Zen. Zen is on point.
Good aggressive call.
6.
Sig rocked. I'm gonna ult if they come in.
Some ball.
6 still low. Zen and
That's
ult.
in. That's perfect.
I died.
Sig one.
They got the flip though.
Got her.
Ash dead? Oh, sorry, Tracer.
No, that was my bad.
What's her name? Brigitte's really low.
Let's reset.
Oh, yeah, I need to get out.
Alright, I've got Ash. I got
Back
Bob.
up. Back up.
I can
So-
shield you out, Zen.
Thank you.
They should have another rally trans. 6 should have flux.
I've got trans.
And-
I guarantee the
Yeah,
Sigma
Sigma
orders
roll.
again.
Yeah. I think everything but Bob.
Yeah,
Trans, so.
Alright,
Bob was rather recent.
I'm pushing
Bob,
low.
Bob early.
Wait a bit, we're a little bit down.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tracing your path.
Tracer right side.
Mark everyone. Zen.
That's Ash
three,
and
push
Zen
out.
left
two,
side.
one.
Tracer half.
Ash on point.
Oh, sorry, unlucky.
Oh, okay, I got bounced. Okay. Tracer coming in behind.
Yeah.
We
Got
Bob
put down.
should-
Ball me.
Bob on point.
Tracer behind.
Taking a lot
Just
of
behind you.
pressure
I'm
here.
stuck.
Rip.
Unlucky. Okay. We got pulse.
Alright, yeah, get out.
Alright, let's go mines and aggress on point. When you get
Mhm.
pulse, just use it whenever you think it's appropriate.
Discorded.
Go flash.
There's a
Just
ball.
Break for flush, break for flush.
Housing point.
I think the biggest note I can tell them is just
Move back
Ball
up.
one.
put more attention
rallying.
on Sigma as ball tracer, and be
Okay.
faster to follow up
No
or
balls?
faster to
Ball
call
kills, ball
aggression
kills.
on Sigma as well.
Ball
And then
point
once we
discorded. Nice.
once we get him out of position, once we burn a shield, anything
Sigma
like that,
discorded.
then we use that as
Alright,
a
I'll
trigger.
stick.
Go
Both
down,
stick.
go down.
Breaking shield.
Sig Discord.
Brig dead. Brig dead.
Zen,
push right, Zen right.
I'm on Zen.
Yeah,
Zen dead?
we're really good at
Wait, watch
holding our ground and
Oh,
winning
oh,
these
oh, close my
these
touch.
duels, these aggressive
Good job.
wins.
Yes. Good job.
Let's go. What a comeback again. So I'm noticing a bit of a common theme where we're struggling to find aggressive movements. And then when we find individual aggressive movements, either as our ball or a tracer, it's typically not able to be followed up by their counterpart. So if ball goes aggressive, it's hard for tracer. Or if tracer goes aggressive, it's hard for ball. And at the same time, our backline is typically being zoned out by something at the same time. So either by the enemy ball or by the enemy Sigma. Is everyone in the live stream? Everyone can see what I'm doing?
Yep, I'm in.
All right. Let me see if I can find the exact fight I was talking about. So coming in, again, we're in an aggressive position, right? We need to break through space in order to set ourselves up and go aggressive. Before this fight even starts, our tracer got caught in a duel and was trying to go. Oh no, you were caught behind enemy lines, weren't you? And you were trying to get out. Yeah, at this point. So again, forcing aggression together. Yes, you're doing it together. Yes, you're taking a lot of resources. Look how far back our team is. These are the situations we want to avoid. And this is an exaggerated version of what I'm talking about. But this amount of space between our front line and our back line is insurmountable. And unless you absolutely demolish 3 people and instantly kill them as the ball tracer, you're almost never going to live there. And it's going to be very, very hard to stabilize that fight. So going in here, again, we want to go aggressive on these members. That's our ultimate end game, with our tracer coming in here, with our ball trying to roll out here. But in order to enable that aggression and make sure we're able to stay in the fight after we've already dove, we need our backline to be on an angle like this, on an angle like this. And at the moment, there's not even a chance of a Discord coming through, right? You see what I'm talking about? So if we play this through, We see Tracer going aggressive. Again, our backline's getting stalled out by Ball. We're getting stalled out by Flux. We do a good job of managing the Flux, and the only reason we're still stable in this fight is because their Flux found nothing because it got rocked, and because we managed to completely deny the Tracer. We were not in a good position to deal with that aggression, but at the same time, they were also disconnected with their aggression, so we punished them for that. Moving forward. This right here was almost a one fight. I think if we kept Brig and we were able to aggress during this trance, it would have been good. But again, we're getting in the situation where our backline's stagnating and we're not able to push aggressively. So this is a bit of a different situation than what I was talking about exactly before. If I go back just a bit. So our backline isn't super threatened right here, but we're also not super threatening. So right here, we're threatening the space on point. But because of their trance and because we don't have any priority members that we can aggress on individually, like we can't dive this Brig right now because we're committing on point. We can't dive this, is that Tracer? We can't force Tracer out. Oh no, that is Ashe. Okay, we can't dive that Ashe and force her out. We're basically telling the enemy team we can only commit on point, and unless they expose themselves on point, which of course they're trancing, they won't, we're not going to get anything from this. This leads to us stagnating on point. All 6 of us are on point, basically, except Zen, who's a little bit behind. And we've got nowhere to go from here. So this is where that second step needs to come from. Yes, we broke through the initial space. We forced them back behind point. Now is when we should be looking to set up aggressive moves from our Tracer Ball. Now is when we look to set up aggressive angles from our Brig, Zen, Ashe. And we have Sigma constantly pressuring frontline, constantly creating more space. So the way that would look from like a top-down perspective is instead of seeing this kind of grouping, is we'd see Ball and Tracer looking to make aggressive moves, either on these flanks, or if we're looking to go on this Ashe, going on flanks like this, and just surrounding her, at the very least, forcing her to be out of this fight, if not outright killing her. And we have our backline, our threatening backline in our Zen and Ashe. This sightline honestly isn't bad, but I think you could be even more aggressive by, after we see that trance, looking to flank around this end, looking to flank around here if you're Ashe, or just on this high ground, get better sightlines here. The biggest thing we don't want to be is exposed and on point and diveable like this. Because as we see, or as we're about to see, I should say, the longer we stay on point, the worse this fight ends up on us, for us. And even with trance to stabilize us, we're not able to make any aggressive moves because we're not taking that space aggressively. We end up splitting our focus here in different directions. A lot of fighting goes on here, and eventually they're able to win it out. Again, look at how split our aggression is. Our Ball is going aggressive here. Our Tracer wants to follow up, but isn't quite there because she's dealing with the enemy Tracer. Our backline wants to follow up, but again, dealing with the enemy Tracer, we're having this disconnect. So anytime fights go this back and forth and last this long, it's typically because both teams aren't able to fully realize what they're trying to do. Does that make sense? So it seemed like while we were also struggling to really set up our backline angles, really struggling to coordinate our backline aggression, they were also doing the same thing. We saw their Tracer get punished. We saw their Ball not really doing anything during this fight and stuff like that. But anytime enemies are making mistakes, that's opportunities for us to push even further into them and cement our advantage even further. So biggest takeaway from all of this, from all this map in general, is yes, we want to be aggressive. We want to set up this win condition with our Ball, with our Tracer, but we need to take the steps to do it first. And we're really good when we're holding the point. If I skip ahead 20 seconds here, once we're holding this point, oh man, it lasts even more than 20 seconds. Once we're holding the point, we do a really good job of denying space, denying these lanes, marking each other, helping each other out, because we already have that space. The hard part of this comp is creating that space. So once we're set up, we're Gucci. We're good to go. And there's nothing they can do about it unless they catch us off guard or some big outplay or something. But the hard part, of course, is setting up this movement. And again, I'm going to call that an aggressive situation where we're trying to break through space. So when we're going into this next map, I believe the next map is Havana. The biggest thing we're going to be thinking about when we're on attack is how can we turn this aggressive situation into a defensive situation? And what I mean by that is how can we force enough space so that our backline core is safe enough to hold that space and support our aggressive movements. Not just find aggressive movements 24/7, not just look for angles even though we don't have the space for it, not just constantly bash our heads into the front line. Set up this core to enable this aggression. Does that sound good? You guys in lobby, can you tell me if we're on the red or the blue team? So I know which side we're on first.
Pretty sure we're blue.
We're still red team
red.
for now.
Are we in
Red team? Okay, attacking first. Brilliant. We get to set the pace. This, again, similar to Ruins, is a good point for Widow. It's up to you if you're comfortable running it. We could run Hanzo Tracer if we wanted to make that swap up. But snipers in general are good because of these long linear ranges. It's very hard to set up flanks around these angles. It's very hard as defenders to deny these angles because of how long they are. So it can be strong. Again, it's going to be up to you to decide that. If you're comfortable doing it, but you feel you're getting punished, you can always swap. In general, obviously, first fights are basically waiting for the cart to get to this corner in most scenarios, and then finding ways to break through this corner. So generally, you'll see defenders in positions like this with Ashe or Widow. Maybe even all four of their backline will be up here. If they're continuing to play the ball Sigma, you can expect ball to be finding initiations on this point, whether that's rolling through, slamming on the corner, all that stuff. So be ready for that initiation. If you can punish it with Brig Bash with Rock, that's great, but don't anticipate it so much that you're just waiting for it and just stagnating, but be ready for it. And look to set up your own aggressive angles. For our backline, primarily our Ashe and Zen, what kind of angles do you think are going to be strong here to breaking through here? You don't have a ton of options, I'll be honest.
That's what I'm thinking. Like,
Maybe take an off angling the right side. Or
Right
the
side,
left
like
on this
from
side.
attacker POV, like here?
Yeah, right there.
Like coming through this flank? Yes, this can be very good, especially if they're playing a Sigma like on this corner, or any tank really on this corner where you can punish them from outside of his range. You can poke shield, you can play relatively safe, do this cover. Other angles, of course, include, if we have Widow, you can basically play in spawn and do your thing. If we have Ashe, you can try and get a little bit closer. You can use this angle. It's not great, but it is hard to punish. If you're just spamming through here, you'll likely force tanks to back up, if not break their shield and stuff like that. And then you can try and break through more open space or look for wider angles around here. The biggest thing I would like you guys to prioritize is not just staying on the ground this entire time. So whether that's taking side angles like we talked about, or whether that's fighting for this high ground up here, you can even rotate all 6 people up here if you want to. If you need that, if you need all those resources to break through that space, by all means, commit the time to it. And then setting up these angles to further the point.
Yeah, like when the cart's at the corner, that's pretty much our best window, because we have Sigma at the corner, we have the little cover for our Sigma there. Our Brig and Zen will kind of be on that angle, and then you have that.
I'll
space
be
to
on
work
Widow
with.
on the porch behind, because I have that little bit of cover back there.
All right, remember.
My shield's only gonna be on you for like 6 seconds, so just be wary.
That's fine, as long as it's there when they traverse to the cart.
Going through man.
Widow, just heads up your LOS out of my.
I got an Ashe.
They have
Big
Widow,
guy,
right?
Ashe.
They have an Ashe,
shield.
okay.
Tracer right side.
Somebody's coming through the right side.
Bull's going up to Widow.
Oh, shit. I didn't
Widow,
need to-
drop down. I can keep going. I have no armor packs right now.
Ashe is hit.
Shield as
She's
well.
half.
Tracer, come back forward.
Oh, the ball's on me.
I'll grab in 5, 4.
I'm gonna have to play
Sigma
behind.
rock. Sig rock. Sig's in the right room.
Big flame, big flame. 4 in there, 4 in there. Ashe hard.
You can discorded.
We were
He's half.
too focused on the ball.
He's tapped.
Let's go aggressive. Let's go aggressive. Take the space. We gotta be
right.
We gotta be faster.
We can push
Widow
from
one,
here.
Widow one, I need
Can see
help.
you.
Okay, good. From ball.
gotcha.
Is Tracer alive still? Nice shot.
Okay.
No,
Yeah,
no, she's not.
Zen is by the right.
Can I get a
mega.
orb behind
Tracer
you?
dead,
Thank
Tracer
you.
dead.
Oh, we gotta take more space
Oh, we
than
can take high
this.
ground. We can take high. Well, it doesn't matter actually. Never mind. We can take top left side here. Maybe.
Biggest thing we should talk about now is where our Zen and Ashe want to position.
Ball is left side.
Ball discorded.
Bob Ash.
Widow left side.
Both supports are playing the mega.
We have
Tracer
a
on
DC.
Zen.
Oh,
Eth, are you there? I think we have a DC. So, Eth, just to recap a couple things I said. When we did a really good job punching that Sigma and exploding through that, but make sure we're then looking to punish even further by taking space before they're able to retake. And that's largely on you and Zen about thinking about what sightlines. All right, readying up.
Okay.
Right.
Right, I'm pausing.
All right, let's go.
And he's dead.
Oh, I boop sig.
Ball discorded.
Oh shit.
Double packing me.
Tracer's up on the flank.
I'm on
Start
Chaser.
backing, start backing.
Yeah, this is the downside of not taking enough space.
I'm
We
getting
opened up
out.
that left side line,
I'm
we
out,
opened up the
Tracer.
right side line, we had individuals looking.
I'm
We were all
working
on the
it.
cart, all looking
I'm out.
out, and it's very hard to look in the same direction from that
Ball's
space.
on the right.
Reset.
back
Reset.
up, I
They
will
still have
do.
control of that corner, so
I'm gonna play this little market thing.
Slig's hurt.
Ball going in. He has mines.
good boop.
I have to
Good
go forward.
boop.
Yeah, he's behind.
You're oscillated,
I'm on
Sig.
cart.
You're
Help Sig,
oscillated,
help
Sig.
Sig.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Ashes
got
in
bumped.
building, Ashes in building, Ashes in building by yourself.
Rally,
Ashes in
rally,
building, building by
rally.
yourself. On me, on me.
Stack break, we're rallying.
I was stupid.
Oh, Tracer on me.
Ash is going top building. Ash is going top of building by herself.
Are we
by
pushing,
herself, by
pushing, pushing?
herself.
Tracer behind.
Tracer on a
No
recall.
recall.
Very far back. Heads up.
Oh, shit.
Back to point. Back to point.
Tracer's on caught.
Got it.
Oh, nice.
Back up. Back.
Back it up now, back it up now.
Just back up all the way. Trying to stay alive.
We might have a recontest, I don't know.
We have 4.
No, we don't.
3 up.
Yeah, I'll just get out.
Yeah.
Okay, so they
Yes,
pull
sir,
us
I
to
started
rally.
slacking off.
Did they trans?
We're there. Just try and run.
They
can get an
trans,
early
but,
fight,
Are they backing?
Setting up-
Can we take
Again,
Hydra?
this is a
Discord,
really
can we
aggressive
take
angle
Hydra?
Pushing this left
to
side
take
with
his
you,
Ash.
Paul. I'm underneath.
It's fine right
Oh,
now
okay.
because
Widow's up top.
they don't have a
Widow's
defensive
top.
setup, but if they were in any position to punish this, he'd be dead.
Oh, she's 1 HP.
Side. I'm gonna
Oh, yeah,
match.
I'm
Tracer's
looking
on
for
me,
them
Obi.
here.
Hop it up.
Research. Slams on 3, 2, no.
Ball one. I'm gonna look to alt here.
Yeah.
Wait,
Ball's one.
ulting right. It's 4.
Nice. It's huge. It's huge. It's huge.
Oh,
Push. Follow up. Follow up. Follow up. Follow up.
We're all
I'm
there.
here.
Slams
That's alright.
6, 6, 6,
Wait,
6,
this
6,
mark.
6, second air,
Tracer,
second air,
no
second
recall.
air.
Tracer, no recall.
He's the only one
Alright,
still
good
in.
fucks.
They should have a pulse now, and
Yeah, they'll have falls.
Yeah, they have pulse. Watch out, Zen.
Yeah, okay.
probably
Okay, into-
Bob and Flux as well.
You're
Ball
gonna
going
watch
Widow.
out for pulse.
Widow on top left too.
This ball is getting a
Ball
ton of
one.
value. We need to be
Ball.
scouting him out,
Oh,
and
double take
turn
that.
on.
not necessarily killing him, but forcing him out.
Alright, yeah, Sig,
Similar to how
Sig
we punish
discorded.
Sigma.
I'm gonna way off for rally. I'm gonna rally us. Rally. That's Flux. Huge.
Huge
No
flex.
recall. No recall.
Give him space. Okay, never mind.
Nice trance. Keeping up the aggression.
Don't
Keep pushing. Keep
mind.
pushing. Keep pushing.
Ball
Never
behind.
mind.
Sig discorded.
Ooh, we need to take
He's
more
not going
space
back
for
to
our,
me.
our Zen.
We're getting split.
Zen 1 up.
Tracer, no recall. Tracer
Oh,
dead.
Core,
Tracer
we
dead.
go where Ash. We go where Ash is.
Brick 1, brick 1, brick 1, brick 1, brick 1, brick 1 HP.
Who's the Widow's free firing? We're tunneling on payload again. We're stagnating in this space right in the middle of the map.
Follow.
And there's a ton of exposed members that we're just not punishing.
With the body top right.
Widow dead.
That's
Part of that is the way the ults went back and forth. We ended up
Ball
in
behind.
a weird spot,
Upstairs.
not necessarily disadvantaged, but just an awkward spot, and we're not able
Ball
to
half. Ball 1, ball 1,
uh,
ball 1.
re-engage or re-aggress off of that,
Ball's
it
half.
seems.
Get the ball, get the ball.
Of course, sack and signal, sack and signal.
Nice.
Ball
Okay,
one.
we punished the ball. Now we've got
Oh,
no
take
disruption in our
bottom
back line.
Take bottom line.
Nice balls, nice balls.
Big stick.
Six.
Oh, what am I on top?
Sig
Zen 1,
discorded.
Zen 1 HP.
Six.
Brick and
Yeah,
die.
the first
brick
couple
and
fights
die.
in the second point here are going to be good
Brick
to look
one,
at.
brick one on fire.
Widow dead.
Six low. Six.
Six.
Sig 1, Sig 1, Sig 1.
You can see.
Beautiful. One by
Ball
one.
going
Ash
down.
ball.
Ball discorded. It's falling back.
Okay, he looks like he's gonna try to
Zen's
engage.
low. Zen's really low.
Yeah,
I'm
he is.
getting
He's
marked
swinging,
on Tracer. Get
swinging
marked on
in.
Tracer.
Tracer
I
rock
rocks.
left. Tracer rock.
Rallying
No.
in
Tracer one.
three,
Tracer
two,
one
Big
on
guy
the
sold.
left.
I got trans. How about Widow?
Big flux, big
Uh,
flux.
There's a
ball
ball.
on Tracer.
Oh my god, there's a
Zen,
ball.
Zen opposition in on the coast on the right side. Come on, get
Reset,
there,
reset.
come on.
I can move.
Close.
Sorry, that was definitely.
Yeah,
I'm
biggest
setting
things to
up
focus
the
on right
top-
now
Alright.
Push it up
are
with the ball.
stabilizing
Ball on left side.
through enemy aggression.
Ash,
At the same time that we're waiting to
take
step our
over.
own aggression, we should be ready to stabilize based on the enemy aggression. Namely, this
Widow
ball
will
has
go
been doing a
when
ton
you
of
get
work.
there.
You wanna push on that Widow?
The whole team took left side, left side, left side.
Again,
Tracer right.
no setup here.
Tracer
Ideally,
Sig on high ground.
I don't know if we had
Oh,
time,
hindsight.
to be honest.
PD on Sig.
But ideally, we
Ash.
take one of these side hikers with
Sig.
the Ash and the Zen and the Brig and the Sigma
Behind
even.
me.
Sig
Let ball
discorded.
stay on cart, if
You got
anyone.
break?
Ball on me in the back.
Widow got me.
I live
Oh,
Sig.
okay. Try to survive, try to live.
PD on
Stop. Stop.
I need help in the back with. Okay,
Yeah, we
Never
don't
mind.
work.
yeah,
I can roll out. No.
we just got split.
No.
Nice try, guys. Pretty good push. This is a very hard map to cap. So, defense here. Remember, the biggest things we're talking about are covering our lanes. It doesn't mean hard engaging in duels every single time someone comes to challenge us, but it means denying the space as much as possible. Rely on the space we have inherently by being defenders to be in range of Zen Orbs, be in range of Brig Packs. If you need help or you see big rotations, you can call them. For example, where you're playing now, Tracer, if you see the whole team coming your way, call that, and then the team can be ready when they try to come out the choke. Same thing on the right side where Ball's playing right now. If the whole team's rotating that way, you're not going to be able to hold that space alone, but you can call their rotation, and then the rest of the team can be ready to punish it. Other than that, use our resources together. Make sure we are fighting for the right space. We're fighting on corners. We're fighting at choke points. We're not just staying in the open for long amounts of time. We're trying to force them to be in awkward spaces whenever they take a fight. So that means denying space as much as possible, and it means counter-engaging at the right time. Same things apply to our backline as offense, where you're looking to get aggressive during these fights, but you can't start too aggressive. Widow, obviously, you're going to want to take shots, but don't stay in the open too long. Same with Zen, you want to stay aggressive, but not predictable. You want to be spamming right angles. You want to be holding long sight lines and stuff like that. You want to be discording priority targets, but you want to be fluid throughout the fight. So you're moving up when we take space, and you're moving back when we're giving up space.
Firstly, when we're setting up to contest cart on these, remember, Lemon, that when the position that you're taking to hold, remember that if they are at the same spot, they have cart healing and you don't. So think about when you're setting up, what position can you use to avoid damage without using your own resources? So that means corners, essentially. Corners and structures, map design, map layout. So like on third point, even though the cart is like a standard, like you want to contest the cart, it's better to hold like at a corner or a spot where you can duck out of LOS, because otherwise you have to duck around the cart, and if they're doing the same thing, they have cart healing. So you want to use as much map
They got a
geometry as
Reinhardt.
you can.
Never mind, they're trolling. Sorry.
Yeah, on second point, in closed spaces when we're using ball tracer, that becomes a lot more important to ask if each other are ready whenever we're gonna dive, whenever we're ready to slam. So Rag, when you're ready to go, like you're doing a great job of calling, like, I'm slamming Zen in 3, 2, 1. That's perfect. Just ask if we're ready for follow up in like the dangerous areas, so that way you know, you're not going in alone, and that way Tracer can follow up on you. And if it's desynced, then you're like, it's really risky because it's so hard to get out and around in the little tight corridors on second and even first. All right, let's get it, team.
Shield main.
They can go inside building.
I hit someone left side. I marked someone.
I'll be Tracer.
Ball. No, it was ball.
Oh, left side.
They have Sig, Widow, high ground. Zen too.
I think
Balls on me,
we should
I
be
can
going
set up
left.
for
I can set up for a blue
unless-
play here.
No recall.
Just take the free payload.
Yeah, just kind of chill behind it. Can't do anything.
Yeah.
One's right. I hear them. Yeah, Tracer.
I hit Sigma.
Grab of Berg's attention.
No shield. Play this little
Okay,
left
balls
arm.
on me in the back.
Tracer's on the
behind.
right. I'm Tracer. No recall.
Go for a slam high.
Need help.
3.
Tracer's
Two.
right.
Got her.
Alright,
Tracer.
what is that?
Tracer's going right.
Balls on me
Tracer's
in the
going right.
back.
Tracer's going right underneath. It's on last.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Ball on your break right now.
let's see if we can get a ball
Yeah.
up top and knock
The
Sigma
Tracer's
down.
right.
I'm trying to with the. Oh, wait. I'm
Knock
trying
him
to
off.
with
the
the
Tracer
Berg
died.
is on.
I'm gonna
holding
come left
the-
room. I'm
They
gonna
moved-
come left room.
moved
Alright,
Tracer.
Tracer, you can go and bomb, really.
Sigma's been hit.
Pinged high ground. They're
They're all
still-
peeling you,
still-
they're all
still
peeling.
up top.
Yeah, that's fine.
Keep
Look at
moving
that. We got
point.
huge-
Zen's
Zen's
one up
really
there.
low
Zen's
up there.
one. Yeah.
Widow's half. I got ball on me in the back again.
Bridge it low. Bridge
how
it low.
about-
He gets shot.
How
Tracer
good
or
I-
Zen?
Which is still low. They don't have a healing. So,
Oh crap.
Ball's still on me in the back.
More Widow.
I'm
I
taking
got
two.
ball
Oh,
and Tracer
my
on me
bad.
in the back.
I'm with you, Chaser. Get the
Take a
stick,
top.
gonna
Let's
take the
do
feed,
reset. I
Philip.
feel like we're getting staggered a little bit.
Yeah, I'm slacking off.
No, it's not you.
We'll
I
kill
also
things.
get to rest of position. And
Like the best advice I can give you guys right now is kill things, because they're investing 2 to 3 people into me. So find a target
Yeah.
and just put everybody onto the target.
Like dive.
Okay.
I'm gonna go left room.
Okay, I'm gonna go
Yeah,
underneath.
let's go left, left, left.
So they should have their pulse by now.
Hey,
They should
they're
have
both
rolled
We're
mine.
having fun.
Tracer on our ball. Tracer on the ball.
Yeah, they have both.
I'm good, I'm good.
And then
What is playing Logan? What is playing Logan? What is playing Logan? She's
Okay.
feeding, she's feeding.
They should have
What else
rally.
Protect
What else?
card.
Widow
Play
grapple?
behind this little green building.
I'm
They're all
Tracer
up
behind.
top.
Tracer behind.
Use a free space. Wait, ball on cart.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they're-
discorded.
ball,
ball.
He's one, he's one.
Everyone's in.
Stay near me. I can proc inspire through hitting mines.
I don't have.
I'm in pain.
Oh, okay.
We're on the Tracer, on the Tracer, on the Tracer. No recall, no recall.
Yeah.
Ball's pushing main.
Thank you.
I got it. Or yeah, watch him.
Sounds like Tracer's pushing behind us.
I pushed her out.
6 split. Tracer
This
half.
marking from Brig is top
We can
tier.
focus on the sick. Focus on point anymore.
McCree's half.
Put it on card.
Oh no,
Bottom
no,
Zen.
what I drop, what I drop?
PD on Brig. Brig 1. Brig
Come on,
half.
Zenyatta, Zenyatta.
Sorry.
Little
Zenyatta
bit
dead.
of over-aggression there, tunneling too much on the ball. Should have regrouped with the
half?
Zen, obviously. But
I'm rallied.
starting
rallying
off these
No,
fights in the
what I
right
drop?
position a lot of the time.
Switch Cree.
PD on sick. Sick half HP.
I'll sick. I'll sick. I'll sick. A 6 still.
Let's get this Cree.
Yeah,
Cree, Cree.
illegal hero
quick, quick, quick,
detected.
Cree half.
That's in.
Make we discorded.
Tracer, half.
Ooh,
Sick
trades.
Discord.
Oh, sick.
Then-
Signal yeet. Signal yeet. Signal hands.
Having the
Everybody
Zen
else.
down is huge. That means no Discord during this fight. And we have a
Nice.
trance.
Six,
This
six,
is
six,
one.
six,
This
six.
is ours.
Ball, ball,
Easy
ball,
game.
Get the brig. Get the brig. Get the brig.
Look at the.
Even with
That's
their
huge.
illegal McCree pick,
Ball,
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 ball, bash. Ball, bash.
Hold on.
Ball dead.
we are coming up ahead. Let's go! Even with the illegal McCree, we got him.
All that. I
What?
noticed.
Cree.
So right here, when we get that kill on Tracer and Widow, we need to be talking about space. Most importantly, Ash and Zen. And Eth, I know you DC'd here, so I'm not going to harp on you too much. But the angles we can take here are insane. So number one, this positioning is really strong, but you do end up jumping off. I'm not sure why. And this is about when you DC'd, so maybe you just had the W key pressed down when you DC'd. But Zen 2, having the sightline like this is extremely safe and really strong.
I was a
and-
bit lost here. Like I was like, where should I go and all.
So, number one thing you need to be thinking about is how do I stay alive? Worst thing you can do is be on the cart, exposed to all these different angles around you. So try to play around natural cover, so these buildings, and predictable approach locations. And Brig, like I said, has been doing a killer job denying ball. So if the two of you are playing here, you don't even need the 4-man group. You're safe enough as is. There's no way Ball Tracer get through this choke. There's no way they get through all of our people surrounding the point. So this is an extremely safe location. You're free to discord, shoot orbs, all you want. Similar thing to Ash's position, you could play up here because, again, very hard to flank this. Brig can mark it very easily, and you can easily regroup with the team if an overwhelming amount of pressure comes through. That should be your checklist, is how do I live, and then how do I be impactful during the fight while living? And sometimes that means asking for support from your teammate like Brig or Sigma, and sometimes that means taking advantageous space on your own. So that's the kind of stuff you should be thinking about pre-fight. Other than those two, I think Ball Tracer, you're doing a generally good job. I'm not sure if you were staying up here for a particular reason, Culver, but I think you could be a little bit more aggressive and also getting more scouting information for your team by pushing up a little bit more. Tracer,
Yeah,
I like... Sorry, go ahead.
In hindsight, I think I would have set up in that the window.
Right up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. It's just free information, free engage from behind them rather than into them, which is always a good thing as Ball. And Tracer, I like what you're doing. The dangerous part is don't get caught in a duel over here, and you back out accordingly, so good job. And yeah, I called for a pause a bit late. Eth, I'm sorry. If I had called for pause 1 second sooner, you would live. I think that's all I had for first fight. I think actually to show, oh my god, how is it going slower? To show what happens in the next fight, another really good example of how taking space during the mid fight after breaking through that initial space with burning down their tanks, burning down their cooldowns and stuff like that can be really strong. So again, somewhat similar approach. This was a bit of an awkward move, Gamolile. Because
I realized that.
the space is good. The problem is it took all of your resources to get here, right? Getting here with no blinks means you're basically not here. Tracer with no blinks is basically Tracer with no HP in a lot of situations. So right move, too early. Not enough pressure to enable this. You're too far away to start with. Unless, basically, if you can't get there in 1 blink or less, or maybe 2 blinks if it's an aggressive move, but you know you'll be safe, it's not worth doing. So committing all 3 blinks there leaves you out of options. A little bit awkward here, but trades come back and forth. I like the timed aggression from Ball here. It both answers the trade on Tracer, so they can't punish us by going aggressive, by stalling them, and it's enabling our Ashe to go more aggressive off a potential pick that we got. So Ashe, after killing Widow, already wants to go aggressive, I can tell. You likely want to coach gun up here, I think is what happens. So taking the attention here as Ball is perfect. Moving up with your Sigma shift here is perfect because you're breaking out of this choke. This is all really good timed aggression here. Bit unfortunate with the Pulse Bomb. Goes a little bit more back and forth. We stabilize with Trance. We're still holding pretty good space. We still have good angles for our Ashe here. It just gets a little bit muddied here when we get split up. I think we end up stabilizing anyway. This was a mistake on their part by not pushing more aggressively into where our Ashe is in particular. But we stabilize, luckily. And now look at the space we take. Look at these angles we're enabling. So one, because of how that... I know I'm talking a lot. I'm just trying to get through this really quickly. Sorry, guys. Because of how like back and forth that fight was, and because of the ults expended on both sides, this is now basically a neutral fight. And in a neutral fight, we can push more aggressively than in an aggressive situation where I talked about where we need to commit something to break through this. They're not really holding meaningful ground here. So we're free to take this flank as Ashe. We're free to push up as Sigma, maybe get this corner. We're free to find rollouts as Ball and Tracer. We're free to walk up as Zen and Brig. So we do a really good job here of, of hitting the gas at the right time. And this is what I wanted to see in our first fight. A little bit faster, where I talked about like after we got the initial advantage, we stabilized their counter aggression, we immediately hit the gas and we go faster. This is a small example of us chasing Ball a little bit too much. This time, as both Tracer and Ashe could be much better spent taking aggressive motions, looking to go aggressive on the Zen with the Ball, looking to set up this angle as Ashe, where you're still within orb and pack range, instead of just chasing this Ball who's never going to die. Ashe winning the duel on the flank definitely helps, but again, if you're here a little bit sooner, this fight is just over before they even get these support ults out, I think. Breaking through this space, this is going to be a good example of what we failed to do from marking Ball. There were like 2, maybe 3 fights in a row. This Ball just sat here. Every time we pushed in, he engaged from our backline. And that's a fine way to play Ball, but it should be expected. And the way we can punish that is the same way we punish Sig on first point. We scout out what their positioning looks like. So first of all, we need to look for this Ball, and that's likely going to fall to our Ball Tracer player. Others can obviously look around if we don't see them, but those are the most mobile heroes in our kit. We should be thinking about where they're looking to come from. Obviously, Brig is thinking the same thing, but not as mobile. And looking to force him out before we take an engage. Otherwise, he's going to be free to counter-engage and slow our aggression, just like we saw in Ilios, where every time we tried to push up, the Ball was slamming our backline, forcing us back, not able to follow up on the aggression. So if we look at this fight, sorry, I keep clipping through the roof. We see the Ball behind us, but we're not able to really stop him, and we're still looking for aggression. Some of us are thinking, okay, there's a Ball behind us, we need to deal with him. Our Ball and Tracer are looking for an aggressive play, and this is how we get disconnected. It's very easy to fall into these kind of traps where different people see different things and immediately make a decision on their own on how to act. But as a team, we haven't decided how exactly we want to play. Some of us want to be aggressive, some of us want to be defensive. And in this situation, given that we were snowballing off first point, given that we had potential to take this space with our Zen here, this is a really good aggressive space, we should have been able to take a team fight win here. But we end up getting poked down. They end up counter engaging, slowing us down, and now we've got basically no space. You see how easily that shifts from us being in a good position to now us being on the back foot. They see their coordinated backline core right here, all ready to push up, all ready to deny all of this space that we just fought for, all of our cart presence, just from slight miscommunication from our ball going aggressive and our backline only half peeling for the enemy ball. That's how fast these fights turn around. And then obviously the Sigil just kind of seals things.
Okay. So when you guys are pushing up here, if they're playing high ground, this area in the middle, this area up here, oh, that got reset. Let's clear this out. This area in here is like the danger zone for our Zen or our Brig. In this situation, you would want to position yourself to use the map geometry as much as possible. They're not going to be touching cart, so this goes from, instead of being me shoot enemy forehead from like normal of what normal Overwatch is into you have to be patient and hold your fire. Like, not necessarily hold your, you just have to be patient. That's what I'm trying to get across here. My analogy didn't really work. But this is where you can hide in here, use cover. At some point, they're going to have to contest this. So if they're shooting, let our Sig be here, commit armor packs to him. Once it gets to the point where he can no longer push this, which is going to be around this corner, that's when we do the thing we talked about, where if we can't get a boop off with our ball cheeky through the stairs, like the first couple times we try, then we take attention, and the other diver touches point from about, let me clear the screen, from about here on out. The other person touches the point, because someone is going to have to drop and contest, at which point, if we set up in the side areas, we'd be marking Tracer here, ball would be doing this, and then we come to card after, push, they jump down to contest, we collapse on that person, we shoot him, and we're using the areas for cover here. Our goal is to use the cover to make the high ground useless. The high ground is only useful if they have a sight line. So if we ever see an opportunity where we can cross under, then we can. Like we could do like one of these full rotations over. We go over with our Sigma, you use your shield, you use your shift to get across and get under, and then the high ground means nothing. But we generally don't want to, I know we had an idea at the end where we wanted to try and push through the stairs and like kind of take it out, unless we're rallying through and we know that they don't have a rally to match, that we pretty much don't ever want to do that, because the defenders are going to have a way bigger advantage just being able to use map geometry that we can't. So on this point here, this is where a lot of teams like to use a Sombra instead of like their other DPS here, where Sombra can be the one pushing cart because you can get to it in Viz. Everyone else can do their normal thing. That's one option. But the main key is we had a lot of situations where Uber, where you were kind of out in the open here trying to shoot instead of being patient and using cover, trying to minimize the amount of danger you're in. So because this is not a standard, like everyone's in front of each other 6v6 and you have your standard Overwatch playing, you have to use a little finesse, be patient, and then get to that point. And to get to that point, you need to manipulate who's touching cart and the objective and positioning. So a long-winded way of saying be patient. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's play it out a little bit here. So here at this point, remember we want to be calling if we're marking and who's on what, because right here we're 1v1ing Tracer here. Our Zen just had to move from being out in the open to cover. Our Brig just moved out into cover, or out from cover into the open. And so we've wasted a bit of time here when, if we're on the same page, Brig, Zen, and our DPS here, then we can push out one of these two people, because this is one of the hardest points to dive aggressively as ball tracer, I mean, even when we were on defense, like it's hard to do this. So as long as we're not going out one by one and taking damage or having to reuse cover, we can take the advantage where we find it. If we're in cover and they aren't able to do anything, we're basically in like a 3v2, 4v2, 5v2, whatever the situation is. We have to find every little advantage. This is where it's our turn to do something. They have our attention here. It's fine if you let cart sit. You know, that's fine. Let it sit for a couple seconds. But they have to make a move and do something if we're in an advantage and this little skirmish is happening over here. So if we are all together and we're not having the ping pong effect, they have to back out, die, or make a huge play. And so because we weren't all together, they were able just to keep harassing. And it took forever for us to be able to really accomplish something here. And we ended up being in the 1v1, another situation here where their tracer is like they have some support here where they can give their tracer and we can't. Like we have to be able to support our tracer in this. If they're ever on our side of the map, like we should have advantage here. There's no way that like an enemy tracer or ball should be able to do more to R4 than you know they can do to them. Let's jump ahead a little bit. So we ended up getting a bit of space here when they gave us all this cart push for free. Like this is where we just take our time, use cover as much as possible. Just don't die, don't be exposed, make them have to do something here. Like in this scenario, Rag, I wouldn't even like. Well, I don't remember what the comms were like here, so it's hard. It's hard to say exactly what you should have done. But you have two options. Either A, you can try to isolate someone with the tracer, dive together, or we can take this free cart push here. So since this is kind of a lost fight already, our backline's already dead, we should consider let's just get cart push, make them fall back, and that way we can get out and regroup. But I wanted to look at, more importantly, this back fight here. Okay, so we're in a scenario now where look at our positioning here. So what are we trying to accomplish with this?
I'm trying to get the cart.
Mm-hmm.
So as McCree, I'm trying to get within Briggs' range, and I'm going to try to play kind of like a brawling positioning with her.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what my thought is at this point.
Yep. So there is a world where it's a concept that, you know, it's called flipping the map, where we basically are taking their positioning and dragging the cart with us, where we can make it to where if they really want to hold this high ground, we can be on this side facing this way. That's a horrible arrow. Where our shooting direction is this way, but we're on the side of the line, and make them have to push down onto us this way if we want to like do a little flipperoo. But we can't do that if we're also talking about potentially, you know, trying to push this. So we need to be on the same page here. If this is, I remember now, this is exactly where we were talking about wanting to push out the high ground together. So the only situation where this works is if we're rallying aggressively with Brig and it's our turn. They don't have a rally to match. But in this case, number one, our Brig's not there. Number two, they do have rally to be able to do this. So in a macro sense, this play call is kind of tough to execute. We have to pretty much get lucky to be able to for this to really work. Where otherwise we can you know, take attention with our ball tracer, take cart, and then potentially flip the map, make them have to come down onto us. If we are able to get under them in this kind of region, like our Zen was able to, if we're able to get there all together, then we can just stick our ball on point. Everyone can huddle under here, make them drop down, and then we immediately engage onto them with our rally. Okay, so as a Brig player, you need to be thinking about either A, you're supporting your duelers, your flankers with packs, or B, you're positioning yourself to be in an aggressive state with your rally, like you're ready to go, ready to capitalize on something. So I don't want you touching cart in this scenario. Yep, so let's play it out a little more here. And so while it's in my mind, this is the kind of slam I was thinking about when after you take attention and you're setting up for your next one, slamming on, either setting it back and slamming on the edge here, slamming on the edge here, or if they're really positioned aggressively, you can slam on the edge over here. But this slam is a pretty solid one if you're slamming. But yeah, so here, because we're all over the place, it gets kind of crazy. This is what we call the fight breaking down. But we're in a 4v4, and they are so hell-bent on like controlling this high ground that we can just... A thought process should be for our Sigma is to mark the high ground and focus everywhere else. If we recognize that we're in a 4v4, we know that 3 of them are up there. Their biggest threats are Widow and Sigma. They're left alive. You toss your shield up here. Toss your shield, and then we can focus cart. And then whenever they try to push past it, that's when you ult. This ult is like a Hail Mary to try to make something happen, I think. But we were all kind of in that mindset at this point. And then also in this scenario, it's better for you to pop trance and live than to die. Uber. Yeah, you had it prior here. If things are breaking down and we're not sure, I don't remember if we called whether or not their Sigma had ult, but in this kind of comp matchup, when we recognize like the only major ult that you have to transfer is Sigma, you should know whether or not he is close or not. And so even if he's close, if it's last fight and you're gonna die, just pop it. Better to be safe than for you to die and not use it.